Lagos, the nation's commercial capital. This is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Amarachi Ubani.
Good evening. Tonight, PDP presidential candidate promises to set up a $10 billion fund for women and youth employment as the party's campaign train moves to Ilorin, the Kwara state capital. G5 governors of the PDP storm Abia urge residents to vote for all candidates of the party in next year's elections in the state as they flag off the party's level campaigns in Umuahia. Federal High Court in Abuja strikes out a suit seeking to nullify the candidature of Bola Tinubu as APC presidential flag bearer. Candidate promises to make Southeast what Taiwan is to Africa. And former Secretary General to the government of the Federation, Babachi Lawal, publicly endorses Peter Obi, says the Labour Party candidates will unify the country.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's GDP slows to 2.25% in the third quarter of this year, down from 3.54% in the previous quarter. That's the lowest since the COVID-19.
On sports news tonight, Cristiano Ronaldo becomes the first player to score at 5 FIFA World Cups as Portugal begin their campaign with a thrilling victory over Ghana.
And in international news from London, around 70% of the Ukrainian capital Kyiv is currently without power as work continues to reconnect the city's water supply.
The race is on ahead of the 2023 general elections, with political parties ramping up campaigns across the country. Today, the People's Democratic Party's campaign train moved to Ilorin, the Kwara state capital, where its presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, promised to set aside the sum of $10 billion for women and youth empowerment if he's elected president. He also berated the ruling All Progressives Congress for what he describes as a failure to fulfill its promise to Nigerians on tackling insecurity. Our correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
Mr. Atiku Abubakar arrives at the Metropolitan Square in Ilorin, the Kwara state capital, to a crowd of party supporters alongside his running mate, Governor Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State, members of the Presidential Campaign Council, among other dignitaries. Across the venue, posters and banners of Mr. Abubakar and those of the PDP candidates in Kwara State fill the air in addition to musical entertainment. Osuwa, meaning "we're tired," is the popular slogan chanted by supporters here as the PDP in the state assures of their readiness to take back power from the APC come 2023.
Is there anything about youth capacity development? Is our economy better today? So what's the way forward, Atiku? What's the way forward? What's the way forward?
It is time for us to kick out a non-performing APC government and party and bring in a man that will unite Nigeria, a man that will bring food to the table, a man that will be fair for everyone.
Despite the current crisis rocking the party, the PDP leadership is confident of victory in 2023.
Let me tell you that PDP is one big united family, which includes all people of Kwara State. We are on our way back to victory.
In the south, we are going to win. In the southwest, even where the APC is posting, mark my words today, we are going to defeat them hands down.
Mr. Iyorchia Ayu presents the party's flag to the PDP governorship candidate in Kwara State before the PDP presidential candidate is ushered to the stage. Among other things, Mr. Atiku Abubakar unveils plans to address youth unemployment.
Most of you here are under the age of 30. Most of you here have no jobs. Most of you here have no businesses. We will make sure in our program, I have promised that I will set aside $10 billion to make sure that youth and women get employment. We will make sure that small and medium enterprises will empower you to make sure that you are gainfully employed so that you can earn a decent living.
The PDP campaign train leaves Kwara State with high expectation that the people will vote for its presidential candidate. Empress Simon, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the G5 governors of the PDP stormed Abia State today to flag off the party's state-level campaign in Umuahia, the state capital. Addressing supporters at the event, the governor of Abia State, Okezie Ikpeazu, flanked by his colleagues, urged the people to ensure that the PDP takes every available post being contested for in the state in next year's election. Governor Ikpeazu is himself a senatorial candidate in the election.
It's a carnival-like atmosphere at the Umuahia Township Stadium in Abia State as supporters of the People's Democratic Party gather for the official flag-off of the party's campaign in the state. Supporters of candidates seeking elective positions on the party's platform add color to the event, with the famous G5 governors also in attendance. The party's governorship candidate seizes the moment to highlight what he intends to do for the state if he gets the nod to be governor.
That by courtesy of the governor, Dr. Okezie Ikpeazu, there are sure Abians that because what Abians are asking, what will do differently? What will do differently? Get a different result. That is why I ask you to go through my tiger economy.
There is no other political party in Abia State apart from PDP.
The governor of Abia State and his counterpart from Rivers State, who are prominent members of the G5, continue to make a case for equity and justice within the PDP fold.
In the past several years, we have laid a solid foundation for the takeoff of a great Abia. We are going to bequeath to the next administration for the first time a 30-year development plan for Abia State, which was not there before. We pray that our God of justice and equity, we bless our efforts with victory in Jesus' name. Do you like Ikpeazu? Will you follow him? Are you sure? Listen to him. Ikpeazu has integrity. Ikpeazu is a man you can depend on. Ikpeazu is a man you can go home and sleep with your 2 eyes closed.
With the 2023 elections fast approaching, the PDP in Abia State believes that with what the state government has done, it stands a very good chance to win and continue with the good work of the current administration.
More on politics. The campaign train of the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress touched down on Ebonyi State today. At the rally, the candidate, Bola Tinubu, promised to move Nigeria forward and make the Southeast what Taiwan is to Asia if elected as president of Nigeria.
President
presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Senator Bola Tinubu, arrives in Ebonyi State amidst cheers by supporters. Leaders of the party in the state, the southeast, and across the country join other party faithful to receive their flag bearer who is in the state to rally support ahead of the 2023 presidential election. The host and governor of Ebonyi State, Dave Umahi, is confident of Senator Tinubu taking the day at the poll.
Our people have benefited from this central government, and so we are obedient to APC. We are obedient to Jagaban. We are obedient to Tinubu. We are obedient to Shetima. He has done it before in Lagos. The man was Sabi. This man belongs to our constituency, the constituency of professionals, the constituency of infrastructure, the constituency of raising people. Asiwaji has never failed. Look around him. You see that he chooses the best. He goes for the best. Ebonyi State is the best. So we are part of this best.
Governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodimma, wants the supporters to convert their show of support to vote.
Our presidential candidate is a very good product. It is a man who is going to rely on the things he has done before to earn our trust. He is not a man who will promise and fail. He will tell us what he has done before, which we all know. He will also tell us what he will do when he becomes the president.
Senator Tinubu assures residents of the southeast of his readiness to move the country forward.
We don't want to go backwards. We are progressives. We will go forward. We will move Nigeria forward. We will do the right thing. We will make southeast of Nigeria the Taiwan of Asia.
The campaign train leaves Ebonyi and continues to other states to canvass votes for the exercise, which is just about 3 months away.
To the Labour Party now, as the presidential candidate of the party receives a major boost following the endorsement by a former secretary to the government of the Federation, Mr. Babachir Lawal. The former SGF in a statement explained that he and others who disagreed with the APC over the same faith ticket of the party chose the Obi Dati candidacy in the spirit of equity and fairness, considering that the southeastern region is yet to produce a president in the current political dispensation. On why he is not backing the PDP candidate, Mr. Lawal says it is against the spirit of inclusiveness for power to transit from one section of the country to the same section. The former SGF later this evening was guest in our program, Politics Today, where he spoke about his decision.
Why the choice of Peter Obi specifically?
First of all, we are politicians and we are realists. You have to use, I told you that we want to support a political party that has the potential to win and potential to rule. Then to address all the other dynamics of the society. What are these dynamics? I've narrated one. Marginalization. There's insecurity. A cry of all inclusiveness. So you look at it, there are only 4 political parties that are worth our discussion. And we've discussed with them, except, as I said, you are a big friend, the APC, the big party. So, and they have all shown a good inclination. Konkoso is a good material for presidency, for example. We discussed with him, but we looked at his system, the tendency, the chances of winning the election based on our parameters is very small. We looked at the Labour Party. We think the chances are very, very big. And we think that a government run by Peter Obi and Dati will give Nigeria the desired peace. In fact, it will win us from this oligarch.
Did you get any commitment from Peter Obi before making your decision?
Look, we don't need a commitment. The issue is very simple. If you go to every Christian village in Nigeria, they will tell you. There might be no candidate for the other political post, but they will tell you we are doing Peter Obi.
In part 2, after the break, the Court of Appeal, Yola, Adamawa State reverses High Court judgments nullifying Emmanuel Bwacha and Aisha Binani's election as APC governorship candidates for Taraba and Adamawa States. That's in a moment. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. Here's a reminder of our top stories. PDP presidential candidate promises to set up a $10 billion fund for women and youth empowerment as the party's campaign train moves to Ilorin, the Kwara state capital. G5 governors of the PDP urge Abia residents to vote for all candidates of the party in next year's elections as they flag off the party's state-level campaigns in Umuahia. Federal High Court in Abuja strikes out suit seeking to nullify the candidature of Bola Tinubu as APC presidential flag bearer for the 2023 election. And around 70% of the Ukrainian capital is without power as work continues to restore the city's water supply. We should focus now to the courts, where Justice Emeka Wite of the Federal High Court Abuja has struck out a request to nullify the candidature of Bola Tinubu for the 2023 election. The Action People's Party had taken the APC presidential candidate before the court, alleging that he submitted false information to the Independent National Electoral Commission in his form EC9. They claim that the APC flag bearer failed to include his primary and secondary education in his form CF001 of 1999, submitted ahead of the governorship election. The party cited Section 29 of the Electoral Act 2022 and 131 of the 1999 Constitution. Counsel to the APC, Mr. Babatunde Ogala, filed a notice of preliminary objection, insisting the suit was statute barred, and that the APP had no local standing. Meanwhile, the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, has disqualified Mr. Tonye Cole as the River State governorship candidate for the All Progressives Congress. Delivering judgment in the suit brought by the People's Democratic Party against the APC, the candidates, INEC, the presiding judge, Justice Emmanuel Obile, held that Mr. Cole possesses dual citizenship and is thus disqualified from contesting the election. He also held that the primary which brought him in was not monitored by the Independent National Electoral Commission. However, in a swift reaction, the spokesperson for the APC Governorship Campaign Council in the state, Mr. Shogeye Eli, vowed that the party would appeal the judgment. He also said the party may explore the option of reporting some judges to the National Judicial Council for their judgments to be scrutinized. We're in Adamawa State, where the Court of Appeal sitting in Yola has reversed the High Court judgment nullifying Emmanuel Bwacha and Aisha Binani's election as the All Progressives Congress governorship candidates for Taraba and Adamawa states. A court ordered the APC to forward the names of the two APC candidates to the Independent National Electoral Commission as the candidates for both states in the 2023 elections. The unanimous decision of the three-man panel led by Justice Tani Hassan set aside the judgments of the Federal High Court in Yola, which sacked Senator Binani. One of the aspirants in the Adamawa APC governorship candidates, Nuhu Ribadu, has sought order of the court for a fresh election, alleging overvoting in the exercise. In reaction to the judgment, the Minister of Women Affairs, Mrs. Pauline Talon, praised the decision of the Court of Appeal today, upholding the candidacy of the APC in Adamawa State, Aisha Binani, stating that the victory will set the pace for the success of other women in the political scene. She was speaking on the 59th edition of the ministerial media briefing in the State House, where she urged the judiciary to act fast on cases of gender-based violence. Our correspondent, Gloria Omezuke, reports.
Advancing gender parity in politics and ending gender-based violence were among the crucial issues illuminated at the 59th ministerial briefing, anchored by the Minister of Women Affairs, Mrs. Pauline Talon, at the State House. As the minister engaged in a no-holds-barred session with the media, news of the appeal court's judgment in Yola, the capital of Adamawa State, upholding the governorship candidacy of APC candidate for Adamawa State, Senator Aisha Binani, broke.
We have been praying and fasting on this matter. I'm telling you this. And God answered our prayers. Because this is a test case. It's not that we don't have capable women. They did it for me in 2011. They did it for late Mama Taraba. And I vowed that under my stewardship, Lord, wipe my tears. We thank God for this victory and many more cases of women in Senate, National Assembly, House of Assembly. We pray that the few women that are in court, they will also have victory, as Senator Stella and Senator Binani yesterday and today. What a great day for Nigerian women. I am happy, and I thank the justice system for standing on the path of truth.
However, the minister wants the judiciary to, as a matter of urgency, fast-track cases on gender-based violence, as only 33 perpetrators have been convicted out of over 11,000 cases.
The 16 days activism, we are going to paint Nigeria orange. Orange the wall is to give hope to victims of gender-based violence. And we are following the cases, and that's why my worry now is the justice system to fast-track so many of the cases that are still pending.
By the same token, Mrs. Talon appealed that the next administration considers doubling the number of women representation in political offices, asserting that Nigerian women deserve up to 50% affirmative action to advance development and better policies. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
In other court stories, the special envoy to the detailed leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, Mr. Aloy Ejimako, has filed a suit at the High Court in Umuahia, Abia State, against the Director General, National Intelligence Agency, Mr. Ahmed Abubakar, for his alleged role in the 8-day forced imprisonment of Mr. Nnamdi Kanu in Kenya. The suit is prompted by newly discovered evidence that implicated Mr. Abubakar beyond the infamous extraordinary rendition. Of the several suits that erupted from the rendition of Nnamdi Kanu, this is the first against Ahmed Abubakar, whether his personal or official capacity. More on legal matters. The Court of Appeal in Abuja has upheld the conviction of Faisal, the son of jailed ex-chairman of the defunct Pension Reform Task Force team, Abdulrashid Maina, for conspiracy and money laundering. Delivering judgment, the three-man panel of the appellate court, however, reduced his term of imprisonment from 14 to 7 on the grounds that he is a first-time offender. In the lead judgment, Justice Ugochukwu Ogakpo, the court held that the Justice Okunabang of the Federal High Court Abuja was right to have convicted Faisal. He was of the view that, being a first-time offender, the trial court ought not to have handed the convict the maximum punishment under the law. Back here in Lagos, the Federal High Court sitting in the state has fixed February 21st, 2023 for the commencement of trial and the full-count money laundering charge against the former Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Lagos, Mr. Olashopo Shashiri. The court fixed the date following an agreement by parties in the suit. Though the prosecution was absent in court, the court noted that Bala Sanga, a counsel to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, had written a letter seeking an adjournment on the matter on the grounds that he had other contending matters in other courts in Abuja and would not be able to proceed. The defense team, led by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Wale Akoni, had no objections to the request for an adjournment. Justice Chukwujaku Aneke subsequently adjourned the proceedings to February 21st, 2023. Mr. Shashare is being tried on the offense bordering on money laundering to the tune of $100,000. Security matters. Now, the commandant of the Nigerian Defense Academy, Major General Ibrahim Yusuf, has reiterated the preparedness and readiness of the military to effectively conduct conventional and non-conventional warfare in the fight against insurgency and maintain the territorial integrity of the country. General made the declaration during a battle inoculation exercise for 345 cadets of the Direct Short Service course in Kachia, Kaduna State.
These are cadets of the Direct Short Service Course 26 and 30 of the Nigerian Defense Academy. The Direct Short Service cadre is designed for specialists such as medical doctors, nurses, engineers and the likes, whose expertise the military needs in discharging responsibilities. Ahead of their passing out from the academy in December, the cadets have embarked on weeks of military training to prepare them for the challenges beyond the four walls of the academy. The battle inoculation is a tactical exercise aimed at stimulating real-life experiences in the combat front lines and expose the cadets to the diverse operations conducted in different operating environments, including land and air operations.
They had proceeded to Jos at the beginning of the Camp Highland for the Sherry Hills activities. Upon completion, they came down to Kachia and went through the tactical phase of exercise Camp Highland, which included advance to contact, deliberate attack, defensive operations, including patrols and ambushes.
It is a culmination of combat military training for 345 cadets comprising Air Force and Army of Direct Short Service Course 30 and 26. The Air Secretary, Air Vice Marshal Paul Jemitola, is optimistic that with the reviewed training curriculum of the NDA, the Nigerian military is fully prepared to confront all forms of security threats.
The need for such an experience for you, the cadets, who will soon pass out and face the realities of the security situation in our country, cannot be overemphasized. What you have witnessed today will place you in a better state to face similar situations in the future in our volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous security environment.
The Nigerian Defense Academy says it will continue to train and churn out well-trained officers that will add to the ongoing efforts to rid the country of all forms of security threats.
In the meantime, the army has confirmed the killing of 5 soldiers during an attack by terrorists in Borno State, which left 10 other soldiers injured. Although the theater commander of Operation Hadinkai, Major General Christopher Musa, who confirmed the incident to Channels Television, could not give any more details. It was reported the attacks were carried out on 2 military bases in Malam Faturi in the state. The attack was said to have been carried out by militants from the Islamic State West Africa province in the area close to the Komadugu-Yobe River, and which shares a border with Lake Chad and Niger Republic. It had earlier been reported that the terrorists killed up to 30 soldiers in the attacks on both camps. Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's GDP slows to 2.25% in the third quarter of this year, down from 3.54% in the previous quarter. We'll have more on business news. Join us again. Welcome back. Achieving 95% financial inclusivity for Nigerians in 2024 forms the heart of conversations holding at the 2-day hybrid International Financial Inclusion Conference in Abuja, hosted by the Central Bank of Nigeria's National Financial Inclusion Steering Committee. During the opening ceremony, the head of the committee and governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, drew a parallel between financial inclusivity and economic growth. Our correspondent, Kayla Megwa, has more.
Reaching Nigeria's unbanked has drawn stakeholders from 4 continents to this 2-day hybrid International Financial Inclusion Summit holding in Abuja. The first of its kind since Nigeria launched its National Financial Inclusion Strategy in 2012, a response to the 2008 global economic meltdown. And according to the chair of the strategy's technical committee, a lot has improved in the last decade.
We've improved financial inclusion to 64.1% from 53.7% when we started. This is despite remarkable population growth annually over that same period.
Nigeria's financial exclusion rate dropped from 46.3% in 2010 to 35.9% in 2020. However, the country has not met its 2020 target of reaching 80% of its population with financial services. According to the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, only 65% of Nigeria's population is banked.
Various up-to-date researches and painstaking analysis show a positive correlation between financial inclusion rate of a country and its GDP growth. As such, our focus on financial inclusion was imperative to ensure sustainable development and growth in the Nigerian economy.
Speakers at the event identify many of the disparities affecting financial inclusivity in Nigeria. Issues with broadband penetration, gender inequality, and poor education on the need for financial access. President Muhammadu Buhari, in his speech, read by the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, notes that all is being done to reach rural dwellers.
The plan was focused on economic recovery in the short term and sustained growth and development in the long term. Farmers were required to open a bank account to access this facility, and this marked the first time many of them had accounts and has consequently led to the growth of financial inclusion amongst this underserved segment.
The revised National Financial Inclusion Strategy, the Women Agent Framework, the National FinTech Strategy, and Payment System Vision of 2025 are also launched at the event.
Moving Nigeria's banked figures from 63%, which it is here in 2022, to 95% in 2024. That is the goal. And the strategies to get that done is what's going to be discussed here in the next few days, bearing in mind the very important correlation between access to financial services and economic growth of Nigeria. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News. EcoTutu has emerged the winner of the Zenith Tech Fair Hackathon Pitch 2022. The off-grid cooling solution was chosen out of the 11 startups on day one of the two-day Future Forward 2.0 event. A major aim of this year's gathering is to educate and bridge technology gap in the country and in Africa.
It's yet another exciting time on day 2 of the Zenith Tech Fair Future 2.0. Today's event is all about celebrating the future and putting the future into action, while birthing ideas to change the world through technology.
We are ready for the future in Zenith, and that's why we are carrying you along with us. Today, we want to see how we can educate and bridge that technology gap in our society.
One of the panel discussions of the day focuses on driving the global trade revolution with technology through current trend transformation.
E-Naira presents a real opportunity, especially if we can tokenize the E-Naira and tokenize the assets. Maybe we can even work with other exchanges around the world in an environment.
Then comes what the audience have been yearning for, hackathon contestants. With 500 applications put forward, only 11 startups are selected to make their pitch for the 20 million naira jackpot.
It is modular, meaning scalable into different sizes and capacity, and then we can track its operation in real time from anywhere in the world.
After a grueling session, a winner is declared. Eight of the contestants are rewarded with 1 million naira each, while the first runner-up is rewarded with 15 million naira and the second 10 million naira.
as much as man exists in this world, we still need to keep eating, and then we need to preserve the food that we produce. So we won't get out of business anytime soon, not even at all, right? Because we need to keep preserving what people need to eat. And from the structure side, the team in itself is very much committed to this on the long run. Thanks to Zenith Bank, this support will go a long way in furthering the mission of solving food insecurity in Nigeria and across Africa.
The Zenith Tech Fair, which started in 2019, is described as a platform that creates the opportunity to activate the digital talent while aiming to be a leader in giving fresh life to the nation's economy and Africa at large using the latest technology.
Time for business news. Here's Will Ebonyi.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks, Amarachi. Nigeria's gross domestic product GDP slowed to 2.25% year-on-year in the third quarter of 2022, down from 3.54% recorded in the second quarter of this year. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, its latest GDP report, this marks the slowest growth since the COVID-19 pandemic. The NBS attributes the slow growth to the country's low oil production and other economic conditions that have hindered productive activities. The NBS says the oil sector contributed 5.66% to the GDP in the third quarter, while the non-oil sector contributed 94.34% to the total GDP. Now, the World Bank Country Director, Mr. Shubham Chaudhary, has reiterated the need for the federal government to have a rethink over its fuel subsidy regime. Speaking at an event organized by the National Bureau of Statistics on the Nigerian Labor Force Survey and the Nigerian Living Standards Survey in Abuja, Mr. Chaudhary explains that the yearly allocation of trillions of naira for fuel subsidy in the nation's budget can be channeled to funding critical sectors of the economy such as education, health, and infrastructure.
3% of all the PMS consumed in this country is consumed by the bottom 40% of the population. The remaining top 60%, and especially the top 10% in terms of income, and consumes, I forget, maybe another 10% or so, and the rest, private businesses, and perhaps, our friends in all our neighboring countries. But this PMS subsidy is in 2022 will cost the government, will cost the Federation 6 trillion naira. The 6 trillion naira that could go towards building more junior secondary schools for children who are out of school. You can think of all the different reasons. So that's the kind of thing. This NLSS was the source of the data for this. But no one's taken that up to make the point that, look, PMS subsidies, it's a question, but at least it should be asked. Is this the best use of the Federation's resources?
Meanwhile, the federal government says the country needs a total of $410 billion or $10 billion per annum to achieve its energy transition plan by 2060. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Mr. Timipre Silva, made this known at the 7th meeting of National Council of Hydrocarbons in Mina, Niger State. Mr. Silva says Nigeria is committed to achieving carbon neutrality, ending energy poverty, and driving economic growth. He adds that Nigeria will be one of the 50 countries to launch its guidelines for carbon emissions in the upstream oil and gas sector latest this year. Now, there may be a need for a review of the current tax systems in the country, and that's according to the Public Complaints Commission at the Town Hall meeting in Lagos. The Chief Commissioner, Abimbola Ayo Yusuf, says the reason is to remove the issue of multiple taxation, which is having a negative impact on small businesses.
We've got a lot of complaints on this multiple taxation. That's why I thought it right to bring up this town hall meeting on multiple taxation. And this is a way we can use to help small businesses to grow, because if the taxes are too much, how will the businesses grow? And we also intend to open offices in all the local governments in Nigeria, so that people can actually come in and complain, and we can take it up with the necessary authorities. Whatever comes out from this town hall meeting, there's a print that will come out that will take into the authorities ahead of us. That's the National Assembly. And that will fall into line with all the states. So it's not going to be it's not only for Lagos State, like this is for the Southwest. We just took Lagos State as a case study.
Now to a bit of good news. The equities market has sustained its bullish rally post-MPC, recording a 0.81% gain in today's trading session. Let's get the details from Laddie Williams.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. And today we have another strong performance. That's it. And it's not a bad one. It's big. 0.81%, and we're sitting comfortably in the 46,600 level. Hopefully we maintain that. Market cap getting deeper into the 25 trillion naira mark. Let's look at the activity chart there. We see value, just more value than we had yesterday. 2.17 billion naira. That's the value of stocks traded today on the floor. 138 million units lower, talking about volume, than what we had yesterday. Deals, 3,434. Let's look at the gainers counter now. See Mansat topping that counter, up 8.57%. Also had the big boys like Airtel Africa, added about 6% to its share price, and Boer Foods all hiking the all-share index today. Let's look at the losers counter. Red Star Express topping that counter, down 10%. And we see Nestle there, 1,071 naira, also down 10%. And that was enough to pull the market down. Well, it looks like the market has defied the recent rate hike from the last MPC meeting for the year. But it could also be because it wasn't a jumbo hike of 150 basis points. But we're still watching if it's just a bear market rally. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Laddie Williams. Back to you.
Thanks, Laddie. We do hope it's not, as they do not come draped in a banner saying this is a bear market rally. Please disregard. Now let's look at the close for other major equities.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial star 894 hash now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Will. Beyond our shores now, the 117th edition of the Executive Council meeting of the United Nations World Tourism Organization has kicked off in Marrakesh, Morocco. Over 1,000 delegates are attending the global event, which is sponsored by the Moroccan government. The conference is considered important because of the critical need to regrow African and global tourism industry after the devastating COVID-19. This comes on the heels of the WTO conference recently held in Lagos, with focus on boosting tourism and promoting Nigeria and Africa's culture and economy. While around 70% of the Ukrainian capital is without power, causing residents to flock to co-working spaces powered by generators. Repeated Russian missile strikes on Ukrainian power infrastructure across the city have meant residents have been without power, light and internet connection. Simon Pusey has more in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Around 70% of the Ukrainian capital is without power as work continues to restore the city's water supply. Russian attacks on energy facilities have caused power cuts across Ukraine. Here, at least 3 people, including a 17-year-old woman, were killed in airstrikes on Wednesday. Meanwhile, at least 5 were killed and many more injured in this Kyiv suburb. The city's mayor, Vitaly Klitschko, said energy firms were trying to restore electricity as soon as possible, but this would depend on the balance in the national grid. comes as Ukrainians battle sub-zero temperatures, many without power, water or heating. Meanwhile, the European Parliament has designated Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism, arguing Moscow's military strikes on civilian targets violates international law.
We vote now on the resolution as a whole. By roll call, vote is open.
European lawmakers voted in favour of a resolution calling Russia a state sponsor of terrorism.
Vote is closed, and it is broadly adopted. Congratulations.
The move is largely symbolic, as the European Union does not have a legal framework in place to back it up. At the same time, the bloc has already imposed unprecedented sanctions on Russia over its invasion of Ukraine.
On a ninth sanctions package,
Ursula von der Leyen says more sanctions will follow.
We will not rest until Ukraine has prevailed over Putin and his unlawful and barbaric war. But I also know that our Ukrainian friends will overcome this tragedy because they are strong and their cause is just. And we, the European Union, stand here by them in these very difficult times as long as it takes.
China has recorded its highest daily number of COVID cases since the pandemic began, despite stringent measures designated to eliminate the virus. Several major cities, including the capital Beijing and southern trade hub Guangzhou, are experiencing outbreaks. Wednesday saw 31,527 cases recorded, compared with an April peak of 28,000. The numbers are still tiny for a country of 1.4 billion people, and officially just over 5,200 people have died since the pandemic began. Malaysia's veteran opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim has been sworn in as the country's new Prime Minister after several days of post-election deadlock. The new leader was appointed by King Sultan Abdullah after elections over the weekend resulted in an unprecedented hung parliament. Neither Mr. Anwar nor ex-Premier Muhyiddin Yassin had won the simple majority needed to form a government. It is not immediately clear who Mr. Anwar will go into coalition with. African leaders have declared a ceasefire in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo starting on Friday, which is aimed in particular at stopping attacks by the M23 rebel group. The declaration was issued by the leaders of Congo, Rwanda, Burundi and Angola, and former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta after a summit in Luanda. Eastern Congo is facing an insurgency by the M23, a Tutsi-led rebel group which the Congolese government claims is supported by neighbouring Rwanda. Rwanda denies this, but the M23's resurgence this year has caused a major diplomatic crisis. Pakistan's government has named a new army chief, ending months of speculation over who would land what many see as the country's most powerful job. General Asim Munir, a former spy chief from General Kwara Javed Bajwa, who retires on the 29th of November. General Munir, the army's most senior general, is considered a close ally. The appointment comes at a precarious time for a country where the military has always wielded great influence in politics and foreign policy. And an elderly skateboarder has gone viral online in China. 84-year-old Li Mingqi is a beginner who started to skateboard less than 2 months ago and has already picked up a few tricks. Despite initial opposition from his family, the former footballer says his age is not a limitation in the sport, saying what's important is the passion and perseverance. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon, and welcome to Sports News. Cristiano Ronaldo has become the first player ever to score at 5 FIFA World Cups as Portugal began their campaign with a thrilling victory over the Black Stars of Ghana. While Ronaldo scored the opening goal from the penalty spot, Andre Ayew then equalized for the Ghanaians before João Felix and Rafael Leao gave Portugal the win. A victory means Portugal top Group H after Uruguay and South Korea played out a goalless draw. Tournament favourites, the Seleção of Brazil, have kicked off their World Cup journey with a hard-fought 2-0 victory over a resilient Serbia at the iconic Lusail Stadium. But the record 5-time winners had toiled in the first half but improved after the break and were rewarded when Tottenham Hotspur striker Richarlison followed in to score the opener in the 62nd minute. Vinicius then set up Richarlison to score again in the 73rd minute with a stunning acrobatic effort that is surely the goal of the tournament so far. Bril Embolo scored against the country of his birth as Switzerland defeated Cameroon by a goal to nil to make a winning start to their FIFA World Cup campaign. Embolo struck 3 minutes into the second half at the Al Janoub Stadium as the Swiss secured a vital 3 points in Group G. Cameroon have now lost their last 8 World Cup matches going back to 2002. England manager Gareth Southgate has confirmed Captain Harry Kane will be available for Friday's World Cup clash with the United States. Kane suffered a knock to his right ankle in the second half of Monday's 6-2 victory over Iran and played on for 25 minutes before being substituted after 76 minutes and then underwent a scan to determine the severity of the injury. Southgate also confirmed that Harry Maguire will start for England against the USA and is set to win his 50th England cap. Club football Liverpool sporting director Julian Ward is to leave the club at the end of the season after only 1 year in charge. Ward's departure comes after the recent news that Liverpool owners FSG are considering selling the club. Liverpool have begun the process to identify which model will be most effective for the future, and manager Jurgen Klopp, who recently extended his contract until 2026, will play a pivotal role in the process along with Chief Executive Billy Hogan. And that's a wrap in sports news. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. It's back to you, Maraj.
Thanks, Ayotunde. And the main news again. The PDP presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, today promised to set up a $10 billion fund for women and youth empowerment. He said this as the party's campaign train moved to Ilorin, the Kwara state capital. Also today, the G5 governors of the PDP stormed Umuahia in Abia state, where they urged residents to vote for all candidates of the party in next year's elections in the state, as they flagged off the party's campaigns. The Federal High Court in Abuja today struck out the suit seeking to nullify the candidature of Bola Tinubu as the APC presidential flag bearer, promised to make the Southeast Taiwan of Asia. And that's it on the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night.